Next question is from Joe. With so much information out there, it's hard to separate fact from fiction. How can men become more critical thinkers and make well-informed decisions in a world filled with misinformation?
I think we're all trying to answer that question.
I think everyone struggles with misinformation right now. Like you don't necessarily know what to believe. Like that video you showed us earlier on TikTok. Is it
100%.
real?
Is it real? Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
It's only getting worse
right
with
before we
AI.
started recording this, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw this video of what looked like human robots. Basically, they were robots, but they looked like they were human. And they're walking and they pick up a gun and they start shooting it at a fucking Cybertruck. And then another robot gets out of the Cybertruck and is like, "It worked! I'm alive!" You know, and I was like, "This is gnarly. Is this real?" You know, and
it sucks when you have to ask yourself that question with so many of these things.
yeah, I don't know that there's a true answer to this. I think the most important thing to do these days is to try to apply a common sense filter to everything and take everything with a grain of salt. Yeah. You know, I think whether it's all the war bullshit in Ukraine or in Israel or the COVID stuff, or if you think about anything that is divisive or quote taboo.
Yeah. Let me clarify what you mean by the war bullshit. You mean just like both sides just saying like whatever it is.
Yeah, like you
not
don't
the
know.
fact that there is a war or isn't a war going on, but just like people just
different
throwing mud
perspectives and sides,
everywhere.
Yeah, I just use the term bullshit loosely because who do you believe? You listen to one thing and it's contradicting the other side of the argument, and vice versa, and in both those scenarios. And then I think again with COVID and all this stuff, like, did you guys know there was a groundbreaking report that just got released about COVID? It's brand new.
Wait, are you asking? I thought you were going off on a bit right
No.
now.
Okay.
No,
This
no.
is real?
Yeah.
This is real.
Okay. What was
Okay.
the groundbreaking? What is new?
This is real. They have now proven that natural immunity is stronger than vaccinated immunity.
There you go.
Oh, you mean kind of what everyone was
Kind of
already-
what like fucking
herd
life is
mentality in
true,
life,
that
yeah.
what we've known forever, right? Like that people were banned off social media for saying and fucking lost their accounts and their businesses and shit because so my point is like oftentimes there is no way to know except for applying common sense.
Yeah.
You know, and using the COVID example, it's like, well, we've had natural immunity, and every other time in history, natural immunity has been stronger than vaccinated immunity, but not now.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily add up, right?
Yeah.
So critical thinking, using past reference points and common sense and trying to distill the information, I think what's scary to me, and this is something that Andy Frisella says a lot, which I listen to his podcast quite a bit. You know, he says, as humans, it is completely understandable and acceptable that we would believe the news and the people that are, quote, in authority. Like that is totally acceptable, and that should be the case. But unfortunately, we can't take people at their word at face value anymore, right? And so I think the first part of the process is to just say like, okay, I can't just blindly trust or believe what someone else is telling me. And if it's really that important to you, you have to take some personal accountability and do a little bit of your own due diligence.
Yeah, I think everyone should be extremely curious, not be quick to make assumptions that in either side or any story or any position is truth, and be curious to dig in and find it and apply that common sense filter. And really be open to both sides to really see, because there's, to your point about every scenario, every story, like there's arguments on both sides, and you can't be quick to just say, oh, I believe in this because this is the little vacuum I'm living in, because
or it's the most convenient.
or it's the most
truth.
convenient, and it's just the headline you happen to read because you're scrolling and you take that
Yeah.
at face value, right?
Yeah, I think the narratives that are the most dangerous are the ones that confirm your biases, right? Because
don't
we
question
all
them.
we all want to confirm our belief or our biases, and therefore we don't question them. Using that fucking robot video that we saw is a really, really good example, right? Because if we're here telling everybody, okay, you have to have you have to have a common sense filter, you have to do some critical thinking, and then you have to go do some due diligence, right? That, I hate to say it, but like that, with all of the bullshit in the world, like we don't have the time and energy to do due diligence in all the areas,
Everything,
right?
yeah.
So I'm scrolling through Instagram, I see this robot video. It seems fucking crazy because these robots are walking around. The guy picks up a fucking gun that looks like a AK-47 or something. The
robot.
Yes, the robot, excuse me.
Just for people listening, we
Yeah.
want to clarify.
So a guy walks up to a robot, hands him a gun. The robot says, "Oh, thank you." And then he fucking aims the gun and starts shooting it at a target, and then he shoots it at a truck. And I'm watching this, I'm like, this is insane. And I said to you guys, is this fucking real?
Yeah.
Right?
And that's not even like a serious issue to like that. That's just like entertainment video.
100%.
Like they do that stuff with like really important issues.
Well, this gets to my point is like, is it real or not? I actually don't give a fuck because it doesn't impact my life. So I'm not going to spend the time and energy required to go do the due diligence. And I think now more than ever, if you're going to take something at face value, it has to be something that you just don't care about or doesn't have an impact on your life. But if you're hearing something that is more of a big issue, whether it's a war or health or other things, and you're like, I don't know if this is true. I think those are the things that have genuine impact that we have to invest a little bit of time and energy to do some due diligence on. So it's not everything. It's just the things that have an impact on our current circumstance with where we're at. But yeah, it's hard because we can't take things at face value anymore. We have to do our own critical thinking, and we have to do a little bit of due diligence. And that's even harder now than it ever has been because people want information. We
Right
have
away.
more access to information, but people are force fed so much that they just take things for what they are versus actually going out and trying to find what's truth.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that parable. I don't know which one of you said it. It's the one about the farmer and his son gets injured.
Yeah.
And like, oh, that's so terrible. Maybe.
Yeah.
But he just says maybe to the series of events.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what's going to happen, but like,
Yeah.
I like the idea of just like, don't knee jerk react to the stuff that you see. If it is upsetting, like research it out, like find
Yeah.
out kind of
Yeah,
things.
to JR's point, the quick story is there's a farmer, his horses run away. And the neighbor's like, oh, that's so terrible. And he's like, maybe. And then the next day, the horse comes back and it brings like 3 friends with it. Now he's got 5 horses or whatever it is. And then the neighbor comes over and is like, oh my God, you're so lucky. And he's like, maybe, and then his son, the farmer's son, is trying to break one of the horses. And the horse like hits him and he falls down and like breaks his leg. And the neighbor's like, oh my God, that's so bad. Your son broke his leg. And the farmer's like, maybe, and then the next day there's a war and they come to basically like get all the young people to go to war. And since the son's leg is broken, he doesn't go to war. And the neighbor's like, oh, you're so lucky. And he's like, maybe. I think the moral of the story is the story and the meaning that we associate to things is more powerful than the thing itself. And when we're trying to distill truth from fiction, the story that we tell ourselves about it or the meaning that we give it actually becomes more powerful than the truth or fiction itself.
Yeah. Like, that gets into some other deep thinking stuff right there. But yeah, so take the time to think. Don't knee jerk react to everything. Just
The world needs more common sense.
yeah, use common sense filter. That's what you called it, right?
Yeah.
A common sense filter. All right. Thank you, Joe.